Welcome to the latest Seahawks Draft Blog live stream. Rob Staten here, and we are reviewing day 2 of the NFL Combine. Better day today overall, and if anybody wonders, I look as if I've been crying or something. It's just I've got a very uncomfortable contact lens, so apologies if I'm like pouring at my eye all the way through this. But I have watched the Combine, just finished watching the tight ends and the defensive backs. If you have a super chat that you want to send in, support the channel, or you've got a comment you want to make, or if you have a question, send them in. I will get through all of those. I want to run through what I saw today. I want to talk a bit about the Seahawks, and we'll see how far we go. So, right, first of all, I think the main thing about the Combine so far is, despite the fact that we have more players than ever who are just not competing, not running, not doing the drills, we've kind of got like a handful of players who are the sort of the star names who are doing a lot of the things, doing the workouts, who are kind of salvaging things here for the NFL. So yesterday it was Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. Today, obviously, Kenyon Sadiq has had a fantastic workout, which is not a big surprise. Dillon Thieneman, I'm going to talk about him. That was absolutely unbelievable from him. Just a fantastic workout. And then a couple of the cornerbacks playing well as well, or competing well on the field. So you have got like a handful of people who are stepping up to the plate and doing a great job for the NFL. But otherwise, the numbers are down and the event is slowly dying a slow death. And I saw somebody sort of mentioning that it's going the way of the Pro Bowl a little bit. And it's perhaps not quite as dramatic as that, but I think we are sort of seeing gradually that either the NFL's got a decision to make. It either changes the Combine around, or it's going to just continue to get worse. We talked a lot about that yesterday. I don't want to go over old ground again. Let's talk about what we saw today. Let's start with the cornerbacks. I think the really good thing from a Seahawks perspective, and for any other team who's in a similar boat in terms of maybe needing to draft a cornerback in this draft, is that you don't have a whole bunch of number ones. You do not have players who you're necessarily going to insert. You're not going to have, there's not like a bunch of Patrick Surtains in this draft. There's not even one of them, in my opinion. What you do have are a lot of number twos. And that means that if you're the Seahawks, that's great. That's kind of what you're looking for. You've got Devin Witherspoon. You are expected to sign Josh Jobe. Anybody who has listened to Brady Henderson, and again, go and check out his interview with Dan Vines. I think it was very good. Loads of free agent nuggets there. The expectation is that Woolen will move on and that Jobe will remain with the Seahawks. If that's the case, you've got Jobe on one side, you've got Devin Witherspoon on the other. You need to replace Woolen. Go and get somebody who has got that athletic potential that you can work on and develop, who's got major upside, who can potentially compete down the line to start across from Devin Witherspoon, push Jobe. And, you know, even if that doesn't happen immediately, you've got somebody in the chamber who's got high potential, a high ceiling that you can really well work on. And I think that's what we saw today. And the player that I want to focus on the most is someone that I have liked. Like, if you watch Georgia play, you see this guy having some really good moments, and then there's like a frustrating play, and it brings you back down to earth a little bit. And then you turn on the next tape, and again, he's playing quite well. And then there's a moment where you think, I wish his technique was a little bit better there, or the receiver's just been able to uncover from him. And then when you watch him at the Senior Bowl, you're seeing the same kind of things in the 1v1s. You just wish you could see a little bit more from this guy. But the player that I'm talking about is Dalen Everett. He's stuck around at Georgia for a long time. Was considered the main leader in that secondary for the Georgia Bulldogs. He had a fantastic workout today. 6'1", 198 pounds. He's got the 32-inch arms, great length. And he ran a 4.3840. It's not Reek Woolen levels of athleticism, but that's a fantastic physical profile. And then just watch him. Like, I would encourage people, if you get a chance, to go back, and the NFL YouTube channel will put the main highlights of all the players doing the drills on YouTube. Go and just look at the body types. That's what I've always done. Do you remember Trey Flowers? You know, back in the day, we did one of these reviews, not on the channel, but on the blog. And I saw Trey Flowers and I said straight away, that's a Seahawk, because that's the body type. That's what they're looking for. And they drafted him, and they tried to make him into a quarterback that was successful. It didn't really work out in the end. But the point is that that's what you look for. And if you looked at that field today, Dalen Everett just slapped you in the face. Slapped you in the face. Like, what a physical specimen he is. He just looks the part. Sometimes you just have to look at a player and you think, get me that. If I was Carl Scott in that defensive back room, I'm saying, get me that. I'll work with that. I'll work out the technical flaws. He's got everything that you need. That's a player. I think they should draft him. I think he's the one who I'd put a big ring around and say, I understand there are some flaws on tape. It means he's going to be available in a range which is acceptable for the Seahawks in day 2. He might be there at the end of day 3. And you can go and take a chance on him and try to develop him. That's the kind of thing I would be looking at from this cornerback class. And that's what this class brings. It means that, yes, if there is a cornerback that you love at 32 that you just have to have, that's fine. You can do that. But if you don't want to do that, or if you want to trade 32 or whatever they plan to do, you're going to have options at the end of round 2, at the end of round 3 to go and draft a cornerback who has got some potential that you can bring onto this roster. You can try to draft and develop. And that's what I like about it. And for me, looking at all of the players and the body types and everything, Dalen Everett was the one who stood out in terms of get me that. That's what I want on the roster. That's the kind of player that I want to work on. Who else stood out? Avian Terrell. I've had him as cornerback 1 for a while. He was outstanding. His performance was brilliant. It's not a big surprise. His brother is an excellent NFL quarterback already. He just looks incredibly natural. His back pedal into transition was superb. The only thing he did wrong was there was a little bit of a short step on one of the drills. Apart from that, everything was great. His change of direction, I described it on the blog in my review of the day as whiplash worthy. Like, he was just so quick and there was change of direction. They have a drill where you have to face the coach. You're sort of sprinting towards the coach. Then there's a call. You've got to snap your body around and go and find the football. He did that better than anybody else. Terrell, for me, should go about as high as his brother did. His brother went 16th overall in a better draft. If he is around in that range and gets into the 20s, I'd be absolutely stunned. He's too good. He looks bigger than everybody expected. He measured and weighed bigger than everybody expected. He looks the part, looks like a natural talent. He is not going to last very long. So if you were hoping that Avian Terrell was going to be there at 32, I think you can kiss that goodbye. He has got to be one of the first players off the board for me. He's a top 20 pick in this draft class for absolutely certain. And the fact that Jamud McCoy and Mansour Delane did no testing, especially when Mansour Delane measured the way that he did, very short arms, and the expectation was that he was not going to run well, and then he doesn't do anything today. I think Terrell jumped ahead of those two players on a lot of boards after this performance. He was absolutely fantastic for me. Who else looked good? I thought Julian Neal, the Arkansas cornerback, he's another one who you just look at his body type and you think, I expect he's going to be stiff. I expect the movements are going to be a little bit labored there. On tape, that wasn't the case at all. It was very surprising how smooth that he was. I thought he had a reasonable Senior Bowl based on the 1v1 drills that I saw. And then again today, he's big, he's long. You see him down on the field. He looks a lot bigger than a lot of these other cornerbacks. His ball tracking wasn't very good today, but he did a very decent job during drills. Colton Hood, another player that when you're watching him on the tape, you don't sort of think, big cornerback. But like watching him today at the combine, he did look bigger than a lot of the other cornerbacks and yet moved pretty well. He ran in the 4.4s, which is good for him because there was a little bit of a concern that it didn't run the fastest on the GPS at the Senior Bowl, but he came there. He ran, I think, a 4.45. That's more than good enough. I like him. He's tight in coverage. He's got a competitive spirit. He likes to hit. Contact thing, maybe he's going to get flagged a bit more at the next level than he did in college, but he's typically in position to make a play on the ball. It's just going to time things up at the next level. I think he's a very good player. He could be an option for Seattle at the end of round 1 if they want to take a cornerback early. I thought he had a really good day. I thought Hezekiah Massas is someone that I've not studied at all, but I liked what he showed today. I thought he was sharp, easy mover. There was some suddenness in his movements. I think that he had a really good day, and he's going to be one of the first players after the combine's finished. I'm going to go and find some tape on him and go and check him out. Some players who perhaps were the less good, if that's a way of putting it. Davison Igbinosun, very hit and miss, as was his tape, as was his Senior Bowl. Had a good W. His gauntlet was one of the worst gauntlets I've ever seen. Toriano Pride ran the fastest 40, but I thought his movements were stiff. His change of direction wasn't very good. The ball skills weren't there. He looked a little bit pigeon-toed in his back pedal. Didn't like that. And then I thought a bit of a mixed bag from D'Angelo Pons as well. Showed a very easy back pedal initially. Flip of the hips was fantastic. Those sort of early drills, his movements were absolutely dynamite. But he just looks so small. And as the kind of drills went on, he wasn't catching the football. That's not that important for the defensive backs, but he kept dropping the football. He didn't stay in line in his W. He was a little bit flat-footed on those shorter range back pedals. I just think there's obvious talent there. There's an obvious competitive nature. I don't know what you do with him in the NFL. Like, it's quite hard to place that player. The people saying he can play outside corner and he should be a first-round pick, it's crazy talk for me. So I don't personally see that. So I thought that was kind of a mixed bag from him. And then, Chris Johnson, I thought that Darrelle Revis was making a comeback today, because when I was watching the NFL Network, they kept going on about him and saying how amazing he was. He had a good day, but he didn't have a better day than Avian Terrell. I don't think he had a better day than Dalen Everett. There was probably a couple of others who had a better day. He moves very well, but his frame, there's just something about that frame. When you see the other guys who are taller and longer and they're moving with a bit more speed and sharpness and suddenness, and you see Chris Johnson out there, I just looked at him and thought, do you know what I'd do? I'd put my biggest receiver on him and I'd say, just go and have a battle with him. And you can get in behind Chris Johnson on tape. I thought he had a good day, but I think compared to some of the others, the praise on the NFL Network was just a little bit too much for me today. And I think, again, he's one of those players. He's going to be a solid, take a chance on him on day 2. That's what he is. He's not going to go earlier than that. I just think there were better players today, and he got a lot of the praise. The biggest disappointment for me was Brandon Cisse not doing any drills and tests, because big things were expected from him. On tape, he's got a lot of technical flaws, but the idea was, well, he's going to test really well. You're going to see all of this potential, and you're going to think, I've got to have him. And then he didn't do anything today. So, he was somebody who people have often mocked the Seahawks at 32. I don't know, he didn't do anything today. So it's quite hard to sort of know what to think of that. On to the safeties. And I've got to get on to Dillon Thieneman in a second, but the multiple safeties running very good 40 times was a bit of a surprise. It isn't typical to see a lot of safeties running a 4-3 or a 4-4 at this position. Of the 14, and there's only 14, but of 14 who actually ran a 40, 10 of them ran a sub 4-5. So that's really good. But Dillon Thieneman, I've written this in my review. He produced one of the all-time great on-field workout performances for me. I started this blog in 2008. I've done every combine since 2009. And that was unbelievable what he was able to do today. Like, his back pedal and transition was as good as any cornerback I've seen. I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about ever. Like, his ability to change direction, the way his hips were so loose, like his movements were really decisive and quick and deliberate. There was no wasted motion. He looks muscular. He's 6'0". He's 201 pounds. He kind of looks bigger than that, but he moves so well. He ran a 4.35, so he's got that sort of a razor quality speed, and he shows on tape that he can cover a lot of ground very quickly. He jumped to 41-inch vertical. He's a good character player. That he's not going to let you down. For me, he has the makings of a player that is going to come into the league, and health permitting, and there's no reason to believe that he won't stay healthy, he's going to have a very, very long and successful NFL career. For me, based on what we saw today, he is a lock for the first round. I think he should be a lock for the top 20. He is a fantastic player. He is somebody that people who follow Seahawks Draft Blog know that I've been very high on for a long time. I've always kind of had him in the second tier. So I have a very strict first tier of like legit first rounders. There's only about 7 players in that. I'm moving Dillon Thieneman into that range. That was absolutely fantastic from him today. And could he go to Dallas at 12, Minnesota at 18? these are the kind of teams that I'm looking at here. Could even go a little bit earlier than that. I think in a draft where, everybody's obsessed with bloody Ruben Bain and Akeem Messidor. Don't do anything. They've got short arms and people like that. Well, actually, Dillon Thieneman is a player that you should be pushing. I mean, here's the other thing. How many times have you heard Emmanuel McNeil-Warren touted as a first-round pick and nobody talks about Dillon Thieneman? Like, I was listening to Greg Cosell the other day, and I respect Greg Cosell. I like listening to him. But he said that Emmanuel McNeil-Warren and AJ Hulsey could be first-round picks. I didn't mention Dillon Thieneman. I mean, what's that all about? Thieneman is far better than both of those players. McNeil-Warren ran a 4.52 today. Let's compare that to a 4.35. And he's kind of got this weird body type. He's very sort of long and very thin on the top half. He looks a bit awkward in his movements with his change of direction today on the field. He didn't run particularly fast. It didn't look like a first-round pick to me. And AJ Hulsey is kind of jacked up. He's muscular. You want him playing at the line of scrimmage, but he's not a running backwards player. He's not somebody that you want necessarily playing in a lot of space. He's somebody you want moving downhill, attacking the running game, attacking the ball carrier. You don't want him playing deep. So and he ran a 4.52 as well. So that's some limitations for him. It's pretty clear to me that Dillon Thieneman is the top man of this safety class and the top man of one of the top performances we've seen from on-field drills. It was a pleasure to watch him. I can go out. It was actually thrilling to watch somebody. People say, is the combine boring or anything like that? Watching Dillon Thieneman today, no, it wasn't. Other players who played well, competed well. Jalen Kilgore, very versatile player, can play cornerback, can play safety, 6'1", 210. You might be able to play him in sort of that death backer role. 33-inch arms, ran a 4.40, jumped to 37-inch vertical. Great day for him. I need to watch more of Traden Stukes. Had a very good day from Arizona. 4.33 in the 40, jumped to 38-inch vertical. It's got long arms, 32-inch arms, 6'1", 190. I'm led to believe is a fantastic, is the heart and soul player at Arizona. So we know the Seahawks like those kind of players. I need to watch more of him. I also need to watch a bit more of Lorenzo Styles, the brother of Sonny. He ran a 4.27, looked good throughout the drills. So did VJ Payne. So did Michael Taff. I need to watch more of them. Not surprised that Bud Clark had a very productive day. He gets a lot of interceptions. He's a good player, quality player. He performed well today, and he's going to be an interesting pick for somebody. So safeties, are the Seahawks going to go in that right? They're going to lose potentially Kobe Bryant. I don't think they're going to take a safety early, but if they kind of there's no chance of Dillon Thieneman being there at 32. I'm not sure that you're going to try and target a Kobe Bryant replacement in the first 3 rounds. You've got Tyre Carter. I think that's kind of like a depth sort of thing. But for me, I think the safeties were pretty decent overall in terms of the testing, on-field workouts, not quite as good as the testing in terms of the running, apart from Dillon Thieneman, who was fantastic. And then the tight ends, it shouldn't be a surprise that Kenyon Sadiq tested brilliantly. And here's what's going to happen now. You can take this to the bank. People who do mock drafts after the combine are going to count that testing twice. The reason that Kenyon Sadiq is even being discussed in the top 40 as a pick is because everybody knew he was going to do well at the combine. And it shouldn't be counted twice. He is a testing freak. But there are issues on tape with his effort, with his consistency, with his route running. There's a lot of work that is required on Kenyon Sadiq. You are going to be bringing somebody in who is an athletic project. He is not somebody who is extremely polished and is going to come into the league and do a Tyler Warren. He's not going to do that. But I guarantee someone will put him in the top 15, or there'll be a lot of mock drafts putting him in the top 15 because, hey, he tested well. Everybody knew he was going to test well already. That's the reason why he was being talked about as an early pick. You've got to think about the other things with this game. And then Eli Stowers, not a huge shock that he jumped a great vertical. He was a very talented high jumper in high school, but a 45-inch vertical is insane. That is unbelievable. Kenyon Sadiq set the record for the position with a 43.5, was it, inch vertical? And then about 5 minutes later, Eli Stowers stepped forward and jumped a 45-inch vertical. That is stunning from him. He didn't run as well as Sadiq. I think he ran in the 4.5s. But even so, that is an incredible achievement from him. And I'm not sure we'll ever see that record broken, 45-inch vertical. The thing that we need to look for with tight ends, I've done big breakdowns on this over the years. It's agility testing and the 10-yard split. So you need to look at the short shuttle, the 3-cone, and the 10-yard split. We're typically looking for a sub 162, 163 in the 10-yard split. Last year, we had a whole bunch of players in that kind of range. This year, not as many. Kenyon Sadiq, a 154. Jack Endry's a 159. Stowers a 159. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got about 5 or 6 others who are in that 161, 162 range, which is right on the limit of what you're looking for there. This is not an exciting tight end group. And for all the things that we can praise John Schneider for and the Seahawks, the decisions they've made, the players they've drafted, knowing where the strengths of a certain draft class are and tapping into it and knowing what's coming down the line is incredibly important. And it's clear that they knew that this would be a mediocre tight end draft. Take one last year. Take somebody that you really like in Elijah Arroyo. And now the Seahawks are so much better off. Like if they didn't have Arroyo now, we would still be thinking, I don't think Barner and Sorber would be enough. You'd need somebody else in there. And if you were looking at this draft for it, you'd be screwed. So now you've got Barner, Arroyo, Sorber for that kind of modern NFL offense that uses a lot of tight end sets, for your flexibility and your depth and your ability to test opponents. And Arroyo's going to take a big step this year if he can stay healthy. I think the Seahawks deserve an immense amount of praise for sort of understanding what last year's draft was, what this year's draft was, and there we go. So that's my thoughts on the combine for today. Keep super chats coming in, like the video, leave the comments in the live chat as well. Talk amongst yourselves, but the super chats get rid out. I'm going to come to the two that we've got in a minute, and then I'm going to move on to the Seahawks. But I think there's one quick thought I want to say. In fact, I'll do the super chats, then I'll combine all of the Seahawks thoughts into one thing. So this is from Shane Turner. Thanks, Rob. Combines unwatchable due to the ads. Yeah, the commercial breaks have been just relentless. And the more frustrating thing sometimes in the commercial breaks is when they come back and then you can hear the drills are going on the field, but they'll have a close-up of one player. It's like, why am I watching, for example, Kenyon Sadiq's face when I could be watching the drills? Like, do you not understand that the kind of sado who is watching this is someone like me, like who wants to watch the drills? The kind of people who want to see what Kenyon Sadiq looked like can go on Google and search for his face. Like, show us the drills. Like, it's fine. I know you need to get to commercials. I know you need to pay the bills. I know you need to do all of that stuff. But when you are there, let's at least watch what's going on the field. Do the close-ups and the cutaways and all of that when they're not doing the drills, when they're talking or they're having the meeting before the next drill or they're preparing for the 40. When you're actually on the field, let's see what's going on there. There was a montage. It was a great montage of why are the Seahawks the world champions? And it did these graphics of here's the players they've signed in free agency. Here's the players they've drafted. Here's the players that they've traded for. Loved all of that. Loved watching that. It was a great little piece that they put together. There were drills going on during that, though. Let's see the drills and then do that in between the drills. That would be better. So that was a little bit frustrating as a broadcast, but I feel like I've complained enough about all of that in this stream and the last one so far. And the Warhammer guy says the outside cornerback depth will evaporate by 64. I disagree. It won't. Like, I don't know. I'll come back to that point in a second. I love Chris Johnson at 32. Not as much as Corbin Smith, though, at top 20. What's the max you pay for Crosby? Right. First of all, Chris Johnson is not a top 20 pick. I don't think Chris Johnson's going to go at 32. The outside cornerback depth is not going to have evaporated by the second round. It just isn't. Like, there are players. We need to have some perspective here. Like, there's this danger. Like, cornerbacks have had a good day. That means they'll all be gone by 64. Is just not a thought. It's an overreaction. Like, there are players who do not deserve to go in round 2. Like, there are players who are raw, who have got sort of flaws that are going to be there easily, to 64 and beyond. Like, I'm talking about Dalen Everett, who I really like, and I've talked up today, being there in round 3, let alone at round 2. And if he's not there, there'll be others who are there. Like, it was a good day for the cornerbacks. It is not like this idea that we need to panic now and that they must take a cornerback at 32 because of this, that. No. That's just not true. Like, if they love a cornerback at 32 who's there, by all means. But we don't need to overreact to a good day and think they've got to do something at 32 or panic stations. Now, there'll be plenty of cornerbacks at 64, and there'll be some at the third round pick as well. Chris Johnson, like I said, he had a good day, but can we just calm down a little bit if people are saying like top 20 pick? I mean, he isn't. He isn't a top 20 pick. And then what's the max you pay for Max Crosby? I'll just whatever marginally more than the next highest bidder is how I would answer that. Like it will come on to Max Crosby, but I don't know what teams are prepared. Like if I say 2 first and no one's prepared to pay 2 first, then I'm not paying 2 firsts. Like I'm coming up with a creative offer that's less than that. If teams are paying 2 first, then I'd be willing to go to that and get in the mix. Like I don't have the intel from the other teams to say with any kind of confidence what I would pay. The Seahawks will have that intel, and we'll soon find out what's going to happen there with him. Keep those super chats coming in. If you've got a question or anything like that, or if you just want to make a point, then please feel free. Okay, on to my thought with the Seahawks. Many of you will have noticed now that John Schneider is not in Indianapolis anymore. He actually flew back to Seattle before the on-field performances and I keep calling it performance. It's not performance. It's a competition. It's a workout. I need to adjust. I need to kick that word performance out of my brain. So he left before they started competing on the field yesterday. He was back in Seattle for his Seattle sports radio hit with Wyman and Bob. And they said, why are you here? Why are you back in the facility? Why are you not at the combine? And he said, well, I can watch it just as easily on the way on the TV at home. And look, let's just get one thing straight. You can't. That's not true. You can't, like the constant commercials that we've talked about and the faffing about and the puns and the gags and the interviews in the stand with parents and everything like that. You can't follow the combine from a scouting point of view as well on the TV. You just can't. So that's that. So it begs the question, why is he back in Seattle? He has never done this before, as far as I'm aware. He's been the GM since 2010. He has been at every combine. They've often had him in the booth talking to Rich Eisen and Daniel Jeremiah. They have had him sat in the suite watching, and people. I'm already seeing the comments. Oh, he's got his staff there. Are you honestly telling me that after 16 years, he suddenly said, actually, I don't need to be there? That I can, as the GM of the Seattle Seahawks, I can just leave this one to everybody else. Like, it'd be like Mike McDonald saying, I don't fancy coaching against the Jaguars. It's all the way in Florida. I'll just let my defensive coordinator do this instead. It's not how it works. There is a reason why he has left Indianapolis. And the reasons why are maybe it's a personal thing, which I'm not going to sort of speculate what that would potentially be. I have no idea. Maybe just feeling unwell. Maybe he just feels a bit under the weather. Maybe he feels absolutely knackered after a long season and he just wants to be at home. And he thinks, you know what? I don't fancy this. I want to be at home. I'll do my work from home. I've got my staff there. And he doesn't need to tell the world that's how he's feeling. He can just say, I just want to work. It could be that. It's distinctly possible that he's just knackered and he needs to get away from it all. And the long sort of nights where you're drinking and talking and all of that, followed by the scouting and the meetings and everything. Perhaps he just thinks, I'm done, I'm spent. And I could understand that. And I can understand him not wanting to tell everybody if that was the case as well. But I have no idea if that's what it is. The other thing could be he just knows he has got a lot to do, that he's gone and gathered all of his information from the various agents about the free agent class. And now he just wants to get back. And rather than be distracted by people wanting to talk to him and all of this stuff, and maybe sort of, friends in the league saying, come and have a few beers, John. And him thinking, I really need to get on with this, but I'll have a 1 beer and one becomes 10. Like we've all been there. Like maybe he just feels like I need to be back in Seattle and I can crack on and I have no distractions and we can work through this. That's the other possibility. The other one is that they're going to trade and that actually there's some big plans afoot, that stuff is going on, that they're planning and preparing and talking and all of that stuff. That could easily be what's going on here. And I don't understand why people are so allergic to this idea that there's something going on, whether it's the contracts, whether it's like he just wants to go home, or whether it's a big trade. Like there's somebody in the comments right now just can't accept that there's the possibility. Oh, it's because they've only got 4 picks. He's the bloody GM. Like, it's his job. Like I said, it's like the head coach saying, I don't want to coach. Like, we're playing the Cardinals. The Cardinals are a bit crap. I think I'll just stay at home this weekend and let Adam Dirty coach the game. Like, he's the GM of the Seahawks. Like, it's not usual that the GM goes home from the combine before any of the combine stuff has happened on the field. Like, why would you not stay out there? Even if you think, like, whatever, you would typically stay out there. I think it's a combination of reasons why he isn't. And I think one of those reasons is I don't think he thinks much of this draft class. I think he thinks it's a crap draft. I think he thinks that they're going to trade or try to trade 32, and they're going to have even fewer picks. I think they're going to do what they did with this draft class that they did in 2021 and just kind of write it off. I think they're going to try and acquire an experienced veteran player with their top pick, and I'll get on to that in a bit more in a second, as I've already talked about it a lot, but I'm going to talk about it again. And then I think it's going to come down to whatever picks they've got remaining. They're going to sort of fill a few needs with some young talent there. And I think they'll have some obvious targets. But it's not a very good draft, and I think something's going on. So it's, I mean, look, Charlie said here, I'll post this up. Like, I'm not having a go at anybody here. He says, let's be honest, 20% or more GMs are not even going to the combine this year. What evidence is there that 20% of the GMs are not there? Like, all of the GMs are there. Like, they all want to do the meetings. They all want to talk to each other. They all need to see agents. All of the GMs are there. He said that he and Jason Lichtner decided that they could easily watch it on the TV. I don't think he actually said that Jason had gone home. I think he just said that they agreed they could do that. And here's another one. Like, am I speaking French or Chinese? Like, this comment here, I'm not really worried about John coming. Who's worried? No one's worried. It's not about concern. It's about talking about why it's happening. And I think why it's happened is because he doesn't think much of this draft. There's the chance they're going to trade away 32, that they're going to 2021 this whole draft class. And it's about talking about the reasons why. I'm trying to work out what's going on here. So, like, it is frustrating how people don't get it sometimes. It's about why has he done that for the first time in 16 years? Like, there has to be reasons for that. So let's just talk about it. And I genuinely think he doesn't think anything of this draft. And I don't think anything in this draft. I think it's a bad draft. And if they were picking 10th overall, we could run through some of the players that they could take at 10th overall. And there'd be a few options, but not great options. Options we question. We were talking about Dillon Thieneman probably, but would you really want to do that? Picking at 32, it's really hard to know who they're going to take. Like, we could sit here now and go, okay, Brandon Cisse. People are mocking him to the Seahawks. If he's that good, he won't be there at 32. Plays a premium position. He's at a premium position, and teams want cornerbacks who are very talented in the first round. They tend to go. It's not often that, like, the really talented cornerback who goes in round 1 slips to 32. So I do think there's a chance that you're going to get to the 32nd pick. There's not going to be anybody that you want. And that's what I think is happening here. And also, I'll come back to what I said a few days ago. If DeMarcus Lawrence retires, you can't replace him with a rookie. You just can't. And Max Crosby, I'm coming back to him, has tweeted a video, not traded a video. He's tweeted a video today saying, here I am, I'm playing basketball like X number of weeks after surgery. I'm shooting, I've got a brace on, but I'm on the road to repair. I don't think that was a coincidence that he's done that today. That is him saying to teams, I'm ready. Come and get me. You don't have to wait. Make the trade. And we already heard Tom Pelissero say it could happen in the next 7 to 10 days, and that was 2 days ago. So the clock is ticking towards when Max Crosby is going to be dealt. And if D-Law is going to retire, that's your perfect replacement. And if he does retire, good luck replacing him. Like, that is going to be, I don't think people realize this. If DeMarcus Lawrence retires, that's your biggest need. Because if you can bring back Josh Jobe and you can draft a running back, that you can do a lot of different things. replacing DeMarcus Lawrence with somebody who is that alpha presence off the edge is so difficult. So difficult. And you need to get somebody who can fill that void. And he's probably the only person available this offseason, free agency, draft, trade, who's going to be able to do that job. And I think that's what they're doing. I think that's what their plan is. That doesn't mean that they're going to be able to get it done. Like, it depends what the price is and what you can offer versus teams that are picking earlier in the first round. You don't know, like, the talk of it's going to take 2 firsts and a player felt a bit to me like the Seahawks want a first for DK Metcalf. I don't think it's going to be like that. I believe that I've not seen this, but I believe Albert Breer. Somebody said Albert Breer had done an interview with John Middlecoff where he said he doesn't think they're going to get 2 firsts for him. He's a bit older than Micah Parsons. He's got an injury at the minute. You know, it might be that it doesn't take 2 firsts, or that it might be that it takes 2 firsts and that's it, and not the player side of things, and you can get this done. So I think they are one of the teams who are in on Max Crosby and they're trying to get this done. That's my guess. And if they think that DeMarcus Lawrence is going to retire, they'll be especially intrigued by Crosby. If Lawrence comes back, it's not so much of a worry. I think this is interesting. I'm going to put this up again. From Lou City Hawk. Pats and Bears reporter said that their team's balked at 2 firsts. There you go. If you've decided that you're going to move on from a player, and it sounds like the Raiders and Crosby have decided they're going to move on, just as the Seahawks and DK Metcalf decided they're going to move on. But people aren't willing to give you the price that you're looking for. You've got 2 choices. You either keep the player and just accept it, which they might do, or you take what you can get. I just don't get the sense of, come on, let's get back around the table and do that dance again, only for the Raiders to have another bad season. And then what happens in October then? Do you finally trade him? Like, you've got to make a call. It's time to do your business or get off the toilet, frankly. And they've got to make a call, and I think they're going to make a call, and I think they'll move on. I think they will move on. Somebody has put in the comment section what his cap hit is for this year. Okay, you need to look in the right place for this, because Misfit says Crosby's cap hit is $36 million. It's not for Seattle. It is for the Raiders. If you trade for him, you only pay his base salary, which is $30 million. So that's how much the Seahawks would pay in terms of a cap hit in 2026. They would pay $30 million. $30 million for Max Crosby in the current market with the cap going up is an absolute steal. It's an absolute steal. And I don't understand why people don't look at this and understand the opportunity here. It's very rare that you get to trade for a player who has 4 years remaining on their contract, who is a top player, who will cost you cap hits of $30, $29, $26.5, and $27.4 million. That is a steal in this market, to the point that he may well ask for a new contract, because that is a bargain for you. And the Seahawks could turn around to him and say, we're trading for you. You only signed this contract a year ago. Give us at least a year or 2, and then we'll do you right. You know, we'll do something on your contract if you do right by us and come and just play for us on the contract that you signed just a year ago. I think that's how it would play out. It'd be an absolute steal. The dead money is not there. Like Curtis has just pointed out that Micah Parsons' cap hit is $46.5 million a year. You know, getting Crosby for 30 is an absolute bargain. That's the opportunity. So that's why I would be going for that. And if DeMarcus Lawrence retires, there'll be a saving there as well. So there we go. That's why I think it's very much in play for Seattle. And I think I said this at the end yesterday, and I'll say it again. You know, if I was going to do some kind of like mock draft for the Seahawks right now, I would probably say trade 32 and then trade 32, go and take your second round pick. Is Jadarian Price there? Is Mike Washington Jr. there? That's what I'd be considering because by all accounts, it sounds like Ken Walker might be off to the Chiefs or somewhere like that. Go and get your running back and then see what cornerbacks are there in round 3. And if Dalen Everett's there, I think he'd be a really good pick, somebody like that. And that's what you end up looking at as your main off-season kind of stuff. And then you try and get back Rashid Shaheed. You try and see what you can do with Kobe Bryant, although there's no guarantee there. That's what I would be looking at. I don't, for the person saying I need a nap, I don't need a nap. I just feel as if we do, we talk about these topics so often, and then we're going into quite a lot of detail between Curtis and I, and like the cap stuff and all of this and all of that, and then people go, no, and you think, well, give us the benefit of the doubt. We do put a lot of time into this to talk about it. I don't think I've also seen a comment in the comments saying that Washington at the 3rd round. I mean, I'd be very surprised. Yeah, Mike Washington Jr. will be running tomorrow and performing tomorrow. I said it again at the combine, and he's not going to be a 3rd round pick after he's tested. He's not. He's not going to be a 3rd round pick. He's too good. Like, there are not many players who are 6 foot, 228 pounds, 34-inch arms, are going to run as fast as he was, the 2nd fastest player at the Senior Bowl. There are just not that many people who can do what he does. And the outside zone stuff and the way he runs through contact and the 2nd level acceleration, he is absolutely fantastic. So I don't see a chance for him lasting to round 3. If he did, fantastic. Right, go and take him there. But I don't think he will. I think you're going to have to make a choice. That's why I think, and also the running back position, they've been prepared to take those players a bit earlier than others have been able to be prepared to take them. So to answer Albert's question on people actually run at the Senior Bowl, they do the GPS testing and it tests their speed. It's called Zebra technology. So that's kind of what I'm talking about there. They took Rashad Penny early. They took Zach Charbonnet in round 2, Ken Walker top of round 2. I don't think they would have any issues taking to like Mike Washington round 2. If it's a bit earlier than some of the other teams, I don't think they'll care. And I don't think Jadarian Price will go to the end of round 2. I think he's too good. So that's kind of how I think things now. We'll see how it goes. Like, if in 5 days' time Max Crosby's gone somewhere else, then they're obviously not going to do that. Would they trade for somebody else? Possibly. I really don't think they want to use 32. I just don't think they see the value there. And I think they're going to try and trade that pick. But obviously, they're not just in the same way they're not going to want to spend that pick on somebody who's not worth it. They're not just going to trade it away for no reason either. But I think that's their preference right now. And I think that's what they're working on. And I'm guessing we'll see pretty soon what their plan is, because if it is 7 to 10 days that Max Crosby is going to get traded before the league year begins, if that deal is going to be ratified, we will see. But I tell you what, now, if you gave me that now, Max Crosby, Mike Washington Jr., and Dalen Everett, I think that'd be a great offseason. If you present that to most Seahawks fans, they'll tell you, no, they don't fancy a bit of that. But that'd be a great offseason. That'd be great for me. Depending on who else you can keep, if you can keep most of your team together and add those 3 players, I think that'd be really good for me. I think that'd set you up very nicely for next year. Lou City Hawk says, JS, he said, John Schneider, JSN, Witherspoon, trading 2 first and a starter. I'll be back at the VMAC, 2 cap people, legal, Jody. And it's a bad draft. 1 of 32 is nightmare fuel. Completely agree. That's how I feel about number 32. It's not the year to be in that. I don't think it's a year really from 20 onwards to sort of be thinking about spending your 1st round pick. If you can get a quality player instead, I would be doing it. And you've got a lot to do, like as Lou says there, to try and get JSN done, to try and get Witherspoon done. You want to get JSN done before Puka Nacua, ideally. You've potentially got other players that you want to sign. You've got the possibility of being aggressive. You've got your free agency plan. And like, you've got to have lots of different plans. Like, if you can get Max Crosby, does that mean you move on from this player or that player? And also, this is the other thing, is they are being quite, like, they've been quite open and honest about, we might not be able to sign Ken Walker and everything needs to be good for us. And, they have got cap space, which makes me think there's got to be something going on here. Like, is this because they want to sort of make a splash and they want the other players to sort of accept, come on, be a part of this great project, but we also want to add this great player? I don't think you'd necessarily have to do that if you weren't sort of planning something big. So I just think there's something interesting going on. And Mike says, Reek posted pics in Seattle today. Schneider is in Seattle too. Does it mean anything? There is as much chance, in my opinion, of the Seahawks signing me to play cornerback next year than re-signing Reek Woolen. He is not going to be re-signing in Seattle. It's pretty clear, and it's been clear very early in Mike McDonald's reign that he's not Reek Woolen is not his cup of tea, and that he has done a job for them, and he's been around and he's contributed, and it's thanks, Reek. We'll shake your hand. Come back for the Super Bowl ring ceremony. Enjoy your next move. That's what's going to happen here. No hard feelings, but it's time for them to. They will. I'm almost certain that they'll be thinking it's time for him to move on and go somewhere else, and that's what he's going to do. Now, it's not a huge surprise in Seattle. Where else would he be? Like, he's played for the Seahawks for the last 4 years. He presumably has a house or rent somewhere in Seattle. I mean, he may have a family home somewhere else, but I imagine he lives in Seattle. So I don't think there's any big shocker that he's in Seattle there, and it means anything. So no, he will not be. He will not be the one who, of all the free agents, he will not be the one who is coming back to the Seahawks. I'm 99.9999% sure of that. So that's where I think we are. I don't think there's anything else left to say. If there's anybody else wants to send a super chat in, feel free. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up. I think I've kind of made my point on this. I promise I'm not that grumpy. It is 2:36 in the morning. It does just feel like sometimes, we kind of go into these things over and over again. We've tried to explain them, and I just think there's a reason why I've talked about Max Crosby so much, and it's not because I just want flashy trades. I run a draft blog. Like, business for me is not money. Business for me is people just reading the blog. And that's what I want people to do, because I put a lot of effort into it, and I just want people to read the work and watch the videos and do all of this stuff. I just want people, it's a labor of love, and I want you guys to consume it. More people consume it when we have more draft picks for the Seahawks. If you take away the draft picks for the Seahawks, less people visit a draft blog. So from that perspective, it doesn't do me any good. But my main priority above anything else is the Seahawks to win. And I've looked at the draft class. I've studied the draft class since August last year. I've been saying for a long time I would happily trade the first round pick. Now that I know it's the 32nd pick, I'm even more prepared to trade it, because the options are just not there. So if you can go and get him, I would go and get him. And then you're covered for whatever DeMarcus Lawrence decides. If he stays, great. You've got a loaded D-line again. If he retires, you're covered. The thing is, though, is there's one thing we learned, and this is the thing. This is the thing that matters more than anything for the Seahawks in terms of going forward and they're being competitive again next year. It is to make sure that they have a loaded defensive line. The O-line is pretty much set. They've got young talent. The tackles are signed up now. You've got Gray Zabel on a rookie contract. Jalen Sundell, you can keep him around at a reasonable price. He is perfectly acceptable as a starter and has got good chemistry with the guys, especially Gray Zabel, who he's played with in college. Anthony Bradford is somebody that they could upgrade easily, but it's not a pressing need. I'm sure internal competition will be there. Will they add somebody else? Possibly so, but it's not a massive concern for me to replace that. That's not going to decide whether the Seahawks are great again next year or not. So your O-line's pretty much set. You've got a good young O-line, and they've been consistently there for a while now, and they've got the coach still here and John Benson. They can grow. The key for me is having the depth and the rotation and the quality on your D-line. Eagles, Seahawks, last two Super Bowl winners, loaded D-lines. Chiefs, when they won it, had Chris Jones and good players around him. Like, you need really good defensive linemen. And in the near future, you aren't going to have DeMarcus Lawrence anymore, or Leonard Williams, or Jaron Reed. So constantly, that replenishing the stock is important. Riley Mills, very encouraging, good young player. We've obviously got Byron Murphy. We have Derek Hall, who I think is going to be extended within the next year, and he will stay. But they're going to need to keep adding and adding talent. And that's the most important thing for the Seahawks, making sure that D-line is great. If you go back to how the D-line was in 2019 and stuff like that, and 2020 and 2021, you will see the Seahawks go back to being frustrating 9-10 win team who kind of maybe make the playoffs, maybe don't, and then don't do anything. If you want to see the Seahawks continue to be really good, your D-line needs to be excellent. And that's how they help them win a Super Bowl, amongst other things. And that's where the key investment needs to be. Trenches, and particular D-line, and that is what I hope they do with this pick of Max Crosby. And if it's not him, we'll talk about other things. But for me, that has to be sort of a big sort of put a ring around that and hope that that happens. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do for today. I'll be back tomorrow. There is at least a chance that Robbie is going to be at Lucas Oil Stadium tomorrow. I don't know if he definitely is going to do that. If he is, we'll get him on a stream, and then you can listen to somebody who is far more measured than me talking about this stuff, and we can have a conversation rather than me just ranting for 50 minutes. So that I think everybody could do with that. People are saying that Curtis is going on with Bryce very, very shortly. So I think it's about 30 minutes time. You've got to go and check that out because Curtis is the best, and he will have lots and lots of amazing information on there. So go over to Bryce Coote's channel and listen to Curtis Allen on there, because Curtis is a legend, in my opinion, and there's nobody better. He and Brady Henderson are so great to listen to on these topics. They are two of a kind. So you need to go and have a listen to Curtis on that channel when that gets going very shortly. People are saying good to sleep. I'll probably be listening to a bit of Curtis before I go to bed, even though it's 2:40 in the morning. Tomorrow, even if Robbie is not with us, I will be doing another stream after the quarterbacks, the receivers, and the running backs have competed. Got it right that time. I will also do the blog stuff, putting the times and the jumps data on there, and then we'll have my end of day thoughts, followed by the stream. So all of that is coming tomorrow. If you haven't checked it out already, please do check out my interview with the Senior Bowl Executive Director, Drew Fabianich. If you want me to do interviews, please check those videos out, because the numbers for the interviews are always kind of lower than the live streams. And I'm not going to, it's a lot of effort to get people, players, coaches, personnel within football media or the football world to do interviews if people will not watch them. So if you haven't watched that and you want me to do more of those, go and watch it, is what I would say. SeahawksDraftBlog.com. There is a written piece on today at the Combine already up there. There's a great community if you want to continue talking about all the stuff with the draft and the Seahawks on there. Please do check all of that out. If you haven't subscribed already, and 50% of you haven't, please do subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything between now and the draft in particular. Leave a like, leave a comment, hype if you can as soon as the stream finishes. A quick mention that the Seahawks are picking 32nd overall because they are the Super Bowl champ. They are the Super Bowl champions. I don't know if just in case you forgot, the Seahawks are the Super Bowl champions. They are the Super Bowl champions. So we can all enjoy that. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Thank you to everybody who's watched. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you to everyone on Patreon. Until next time, bye for now.